Hey guys, it's Wi-Fi Toaster, and today I'm doing something a little bit different. I'm making a guide video. More specifically, I'm making a Poise guide video. I don't usually make these kinds of videos because there are usually a lot more talented people than me who make these kind of videos, but I haven't been able to find a really good Poise guide, and so I figured, what the hell, I'll just make one. So the main purpose of this video is to get information out to the Dark Souls community about how Poise works. So if I get something wrong, please tell me so that I can correct it. The last thing I want to do is be spreading misinformation. Now I'd like to thank Kinglifedrain and Freyedfuse for helping me out this video. Kinglifedrain has a YouTube channel, and if you'd like, you can check it out in the description below. Now I'm going to be separating this video into 3 parts. The first part is going to be a discussion of how the poise mechanic works. The second is about the specific poise damage values of different weapons and attacks. The third is going to be about techniques you can use with poise, including a parry technique. Now, so without any further ado, I'm just going to go ahead and start talking about the poise mechanic. Poise in Dark Souls 2 works similarly to the way it worked in Dark Souls 1. And that is, weapons deal a certain amount of poise damage, depending on their attack, and whether or not they're two-handed, as well as their actual poise damage value, which I'll get a little bit more into in the actual poise damage section. Now, you as a player have a poise level. Now, this level is increased by armor, and by rings and your stats to a smaller degree. If your own personal poise value exceeds that of the poise damage a weapon is dealing, then you will not be stunned, while if you are not high enough in poise, you will be stunned by that attack. Now, you don't just need the poise level to withstand the poise damage in Dark Souls 2. You also need to be doing an action. If you are standing still, then you will be stunned by an attack regardless of its poise damage value and your own personal poise value. Now, that might not be true at very, very high poise levels, but for basically any poise level, that is true. Now, that is the main difference between Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 2, is that you have to, be doing some sort of action in order to activate poise. Now, that poise value I mentioned is kind of like a stamina bar. It takes damage like a stamina bar, and it recharges similar to a stamina bar. And your poise bar seems to recover faster if you've just been stunned than if you have taken one hit and not have been stunned. So, that's essentially how poise works in this game. And so in summary, if you have a high enough poise level, and your opponent deals less poise damage than that poise level, then you won't be staggered as long as you're doing some sort of action. And I will demonstrate that with a bunch of different actions, including running and attacking, and I think even walking. As you'll see, will activate your poise. So that's basically how it works. And now I'm going to go ahead and move a little bit more into the poise damage section. Poise damage in Dark Souls 2 is the amount of poise that a weapon will overcome. That's the way I want to phrase it. And what I mean by that is your poise damage value will be compared to your opponent's poise level. And if you're above that level, then you'll stagger them. And poise damage, like I said it before early in the video, is affected by not only the actual poise damage on the weapon, which is a stat on the weapon, and it starts at poise damage 10. It is not only affected by that stat, but it is also affected by whether or not you're doing the R2 or two-handing the weapon. Now, I have taken some time, and I have actually put together all the different poise breakpoints roughly as talked about in the Dark Souls wiki dot. So if you're looking for the wiki dot page, I'll put that in the description below, and you can check out the individual poise breakpoints. And here I'm just demonstrating them. So to give you an example of how your attacks affect your poise damage values, a poise damage 10 weapon, which is like a dagger, will deal 36 poise damage when one-handed and doing its R1. Now, when it's doing its R2 one-handed, it'll do 44 poise damage. And when it's two-handed, it deals, I believe, 95 poise damage. Now, that's a lot. So you have to have 95 poise in order to withstand a two-handed attack. That is a whole heck of a lot of poise, and probably aren't going to get up to that level, but I will demonstrate all the different poise damages and stuff like that. So I'm going to talk about this first segment, and then you'll see all the different poise damage values and what it looks like when you're poising through an attack. So this first clip here, you'll see I run up to my opponent, which is an action, like I said, and that will activate your poise. I have slightly less poise than the poise damage of this dagger. I have 32 poise, and his dagger will deal 36 poise damage to me. So as I run, you'll notice I'll stop running because he hits me, and you'll see that 3 times. And then on the next 3 clips, I have just above 36 poise. Now this time when I run through him, I'm slowed down by his attack, but I am not stunned. I don't stop moving. I can continue moving, and I can do another attack or animation, something like that, afterwards. And you'll see that 3 times as well. And then for the rest of this video, you'll see, I'll describe it as I'm doing a poise damage 10 weapon R2. And then you'll see me have just below the poise amount that would prevent me from being stunned, and then just above the poise amount that would prevent me from being stunned. And I'll do that for each weapon class up to 35, and then I'll see you guys at the 35 breakpoint, because according to the wiki, you cannot withstand a 35 poise damage weapon, although we'll see later that I do, so that might not necessarily be true. So, like I said, these are just the different poise values. You can skip ahead if you like, and I'll see you at the end of this. So this is the 35 Poise Damage category that, again, the wiki says it's not possible to actually get past this to poise through this level. But as you'll see here, these great swords have 35 Poise Damage, and I am poising through them. So a little bit more testing needs to be done because it is possible to poise through these attacks. And in fact, it may even be possible to poise through other R2 attacks that I haven't tested. I really just tested everything that was in the wiki. And so if people enjoy this video and want to learn more about poise, then I will definitely do more tests to figure out those different poise levels. So yeah, here's me poising through 35 poise damage weapons. Now, I've also developed a technique using poise, and that's what I'm going to start talking about now. So the technique that I use for poise as far as parrying goes, a poise parry, if you will, I'm going to call it that, sure. If you walk up to your opponent and they attack you and they go for the second R1, if you poise through that first attack, you'll have plenty of time to parry their second R1 or R2 if you have enough poise. And that's basically how the technique works. You have to be doing the action, which means that you have to be walking towards your opponent. But as long as you're walking towards your opponent or walking back and walking forward or even parrying or even attacking yourself, then you can get a parry after you've taken one hit of their weapon and you've poised through it. It's a very interesting technique because it can allow you to stay aggressive by poising through one of their attacks, and then also allowing you to make a successful parry. So I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate that a bunch of times. I've got a bunch of different clips, and it works with a bunch of different weapons too. It works with straight swords, it works with the great swords, if you have enough poise. It works with katanas even. So I haven't tested it with every weapon, obviously, against every weapon, but I've tested it with quite a few. Now, at the last clip will be me getting a super parry by taking or parrying almost as soon as I see the person coming in. I take the first hit, and because I'm not stunned, I get them on the second because the parry frames are so late. So that'll be interesting to see too. So I also want to talk about what poise levels I think are important for you to have. I would recommend you having at least 36 poise for your build, because then you will not be staggered by a dagger, which is bad. Nobody wants to be staggered by a dagger. But I would also really recommend going up to 60 poise or a little bit above 60 poise, because the poise breakpoints according to the wiki are a little inaccurate, but a little bit above 60 poise and you'll be able to take one hit of a straight sword, which is really important because you don't want to get hit by too many straight sword hits. So going above 60 is my recommendation for a good poise level to have. Anyway, that's all I really had to talk about as far as techniques and stuff goes. I really want to test different parts of poise that I didn't get a chance to get into. I didn't want this to be a really, really long video. I just wanted this to be basic so that you guys can understand poise and start using it right away. But I'd like to go and talk about running attacks, talk about jumping attacks, the stone ring, because the stone ring, if someone's wearing it, you're basically, screwed in terms of using poise. I would also like to talk about if buffs affect your poise damage in any way. So there's a lot of topics I can really cover with this if people are interested. So let me know. And let me know if this video was helpful, because the main point of this video is to get out information to you guys. And if this helped, then I'm overjoyed. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.